far, then there is a really high chance that you would be wondering whether the Xiaomi Mi 5 is worth the 25k it sells at. I've had one for the past 2 weeks and I can tell you if it's any good for those 25k. So as you already probably know, it's a completely revamped phone. It's probably the only smartphone Xiaomi has ever made that does not look similar to any other smartphone that they have made in the past. And I kind of love this device just for this fact itself. But it's got a lot of Xiaomi's original design elements, quite a lot of Samsung's this time, but none of Apple's, in case you were wondering. So it's got those curved edges at the back that were first introduced by Xiaomi itself with the Mi Note, not by Samsung, in case you didn't know. And I really like these. I mean, they really help in providing excellent comfort while you hold the phone, and they sort of make me feel as if the phone really takes the shape of my hand. The right word to describe the feel would be captivating, if you make sense about that. They also tend to make the phone a lot more beautiful because they seem to thinner down the edges. That really gives this device a sharp and streamlined appearance, and I really love that. Also, even though the phone has got a lot of curves, it has got a completely flat bottom and top, so you can actually make it stand vertically on its own without any support on a flat surface. Trust me, that is real fun. The biggest design change, however, would be that button at the bottom. It screams Samsung, and I kind of love it. It's actually both a physically pressing button that you can either physically press all the way down or just tap on it to get back on the home screen. Oh, and yeah, it also doubles up as a fingerprint sensor. I mean, obviously it's 2016, but I'm really proud to say that it's right up in the crowd of A players. It's one of the fastest fingerprint sensors you'll ever come across. It's definitely not the most accurate one. I mean, I've had various failed attempts lately, but a lot of people say that these issues are fixed in the upcoming software updates. I haven't had anyone in the past 2 weeks, but maybe it's incoming. You'll also see that beside that home button are two touch off capacitive buttons, so you can actually swap their functions, and that's the reason they're symbolized by dots. So it's like really very convenient. So that is the design. If you look at it in a broad perspective, your hands are always in contact of highly premium and well built hardware, which is pretty cool. It also weighs really light. The first time I picked it up, I could not really believe that it had a battery inside it because it is like incredibly light for the size. And talking about size, it's got a 5.1-inch display at the front. I think it will be suitable for the majority. I really don't have any problems with that. But then at the end of the day, don't take me wrong, it's not a flawless design. It does have two major flaws, and first up is the build material. So probably 90% of this hardware is glass, and it is insanely slippery. I mean, this has literally slipped out of my pockets while I'm driving. It slides while it's lying on a couch or on a cushion, just incredibly slippery. But strikingly not very reflective and not a very big fingerprint sensor. I'm pretty sure you'll see a lot of fingerprints in the black variant, but then the white variant is pretty clever in not showing those fingerprints. It kind of hides those. And last but not the least at all, the second biggest flaw is the speaker. So it's got no front facing speakers. It's got a very tiny driver at the bottom of the device, and you'll see two grills, but as usual the left one is the microphone. It's just the right one that screams sound, and it not even screams. It's got really less volume levels. Even the highest feels the lowest, just below average experience. Oh, and how can I forget that aux output? Trust me, it sucks. But then what does not suck is that display. So as I told you in the beginning, it's got a 5.1-inch display, but here's the interesting thing. At first sight, it might seem as if it's got a matte finish to it because it had really low glare, but then the actual glass was glossy, so it's a really good job done by Xiaomi in reducing the glare, especially with a glossy finish. So there's that. But other than that, it's a 1080p display, so it's not a quad HD display, and Xiaomi says that you totally don't need a quad HD display in such a size, and to be honest, they're not completely wrong. Of course, QHD is the future, but you've got to agree with me that you cannot tell the difference between a QHD and an FHD display until you put them side by side. This, however, is the best 1080p display you will ever come across. It has got one of the most accurate color tones I've ever seen, and since it's an IPS panel, it's got incredible viewing angles. You pretty much have no fading or tinting at even the weirdest angles possible, and the best part is that brightness. So it's got 600 nits of brightness, which to be honest is incredibly bright. You pretty much have no problems viewing the display in bright sunlight, and it gets extremely dim at the lowest brightness level, so it's pretty much sitting at the extremes. Now for me, the display part actually ends there, but a lot of people seem to have a problem with that border all across that display. The actual thing is that you cannot have a borderless display. That is practically impossible. You cannot have a display without these components. You can shrink them as much as you want, but then they will be there. So in the true life, there's actually nothing known as a borderless display. I got used to them pretty much on the first day itself, but one thing that you can actually do to avoid these is to get a black variant. It's still not available, but it shall be soon, so you might want to get that because it pretty much hides all of those bezels. But at the end of the day, Xiaomi kind of always nails it with the display. But this time Xiaomi has also nailed it with the performance. So this thing is completely ready for the future. So it's got a Snapdragon 820 inside it, which is probably the most powerful SoC available right now in the market. And you get 3GB of onboard RAM, although you barely get half of it. But then the good thing is that it's a DDR4 RAM, so it's still incredibly quick. It is not the best performer at the benchmarks, but you know, they don't tell the whole story. So in these 2 weeks, I had pretty much negligible or zero hiccups by this device, which is really impressive. Although as far as the background app refresh limit is concerned, it's just average. You don't really want to expect this device to invest much of its memory onto it. I also did a lot of high-end gaming on it, and trust me, it was a breeze. It consistently delivered really high FPS rates throughout the process, and it also didn't overheat. It did get warm because it's normal physics, but definitely not to the point where it would be uncomfortable for me to hold it. So at the end, again, without any hesitation, definitely in the territory of all the A players. So pretty much everything that you have heard about the Mi 5 from me up till now has been in its favor for the most part. But then there's one thing about this device that really pisses me off, and that is the software. Now, it runs on MIUI 7, and I by no way mean that it's a bad custom UI. You can actually customize it to its core. It's got various themes, it's got various icon packs, it's got various transition effects. It's very good looking, it's got a very flat and minimal design to it, and then it also comes with a lot of cool features. Like, I really love the fact that you can pull down the notification panel by swiping down anywhere on the home screen, so that is very convenient. It also has this fancy but useful feature known as one-handed mode, which works flawlessly if it wants to. But all over that, it's got a couple of things going on that I consider weird. So MIUI 7 is based on Marshmallow, but then it does not support the flagship feature of Marshmallow that is now on tap. It just does not support it. It also has these weird things going on in the settings. So if you want to change the sleep time, you'll go into display, right? No, you'll actually go into the lock screen and password to change the sleep time of this device. How does that even make sense? But at the end, all these issues can really be fixed with a software update, and I really hope that they are incoming. As far as the battery life on this thing is concerned, I've got to say I'm highly satisfied. It's got a 3000 milliampere battery inside it, which is pretty big, but I've had really good standby times. I mean, I slept at 100% one night, but then woke up at 96. So thanks, those. It also had really good screen on times, but in day-to-day usage, I use the device really heavily, the typical use of a YouTuber, and I precisely remember that I never ever charged it within 24 hours of a full charge. So these were the results that I got while I was on Wi-Fi, but then I have pretty much the same output when I use the device on cellular network. So pretty good job done by Xiaomi in the battery department. Now, last but not the least is the camera, and I was really excited to test the Mi 5's camera. Technically, it's got everything going for it. I mean, it's got a 16 megapixel sensor, it's got an f2.0 of aperture, it's got 4-axis OIS that Xiaomi is talking a lot about. But apart from all these tech specs, the quality of the images was also pretty good. In decent lighting conditions, it performs really well. It's got really good saturation and contrast ratios. It's got pretty decent dynamic range, but then the best thing about this were the colors. They were really accurate thanks to the DTI technology, which does not really let all the pixels leak light. But as usual, things got ugly when you go into the low light conditions. Of course, grain increases, the detail decreases. Overall, not a recommended camera for low light pics. But I've got to say that 4-axis OIS is no joke. As far as the control for the camera is concerned, it's got a pretty dope app that you can actually go directly from the lock screen. It's really fast. It's got a bunch of filters inside it and a bunch of interesting modes like the manual mode. But at the end, considering the fact that Mi 5 is a flagship, the camera on this thing is definitely pretty far from being the best. So there you have it. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much everything I have to say about my experience with the Mi 5. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's got a USB Type-C port. It's got quick charging built into it. It's got NFC. Pretty much lacks nothing and check marks all of the boxes. It's pretty much again a complete package, and for the price it's selling at, I don't really think you need to have a second thought for this device. Thanks a lot for watching this video. Feel free to stick around the channel. Feel free to rate this video, and I'll catch you really soon. Take care, guys.